What's up, everyone? I'm Andy. Welcome to the experiment. In a previous video, I talked about budgets, and I gave you a clear look into all of the costs associated with my house build. I mentioned several times in that video that my costs in some cases are a lot lower than traditional costs. So in today's video, I'm going to give you all of the tips and tricks and techniques I used to keep my costs low. So, let's talk about saving money. The first efficiency you need to take care of is when buying land. Location, size, and restrictions on that land will all have huge impacts on the cost of your build. Different cities and townships have different fees for permitting and inspections. When you're looking at land, there are a few key aspects you need to keep in mind to keep your costs low. Land size. Obviously, more land costs more money. So, be careful to understand how much land you actually need and the benefits and downsides of owning more land. There is maintenance to think about. Remember that. Permits and fees. Look into all of the development costs and permit fees that are applicable to your land. It varies drastically from area to area. It could cost as little as $5,000 or as much as $50,000. Do your research and choose wisely. Soil composition and bedrock. Digging on the side of a mountain or in a rocky area is obviously going to be way more expensive than loose soil. Consider digging some test pits on land before making an offer so you have a clear understanding of your excavation costs. And to keep those costs low, avoid areas that are rocky or wet, as those tend to have expensive challenges. Trees and clearing. It's a good idea to have an understanding of how much it's going to cost to clear trees and prepare the land for development. What are the permits or ecological restrictions that you need to follow? You may have to pay for expensive surveys or studies in order to build on that land. Do your research and understand the full cost of developing on that land. The next efficiencies come at the design phase. And because it's common to only list the above ground levels towards your square footage, people put a lot of emphasis on that number. But here's the truth. I have nearly 3,000 square feet of space in my house, including the basement. And it only cost around $200 a square foot to build that. If I wanted all of that above ground, it would have easily been over $300 a square foot. That's some big savings. Basements can offer huge value for your investment. If you design it well and design it as a living space right from the beginning, design it for comfort, you can effectively double your square footage for a very small amount. To put real numbers on this, if I were to build my house on slab, it would be 1,400 square feet and would cost roughly $520,000 to build. Instead, I'm building it on a basement, getting 2,800 square feet out of it, and it's costing $550,000. For $30,000, I've gained 1,400 square feet of space. That is a steal. Now, obviously, different areas will have different costs associated with digging a basement. Here in Ontario, basements are relatively cheap because of the soil that we have here. And we tend to do garden-level basements, so you still have plenty of natural light coming in. I'll be sure to talk about basement design in a future video, so make sure you're subscribed. Speaking of efficient design, the next way to save money is to stop thinking about what you want and actually figure out what you need. Many of us are guilty of this. We see photos online and we decide, yes, I want that in my house. I'm talking huge bathrooms with open showers, or 20-foot ceilings, or pantries the size of a bedroom. It's not a good idea to design your house aspirationally. Pretending that you need that book reading nook when you realistically only read one book a year is not smart design. Again, on the design front, we have the roof and elevation. For some reason, the world is obsessed with roof peaks right now. 8, 12, 16 roof peaks on one house? What are we doing here? It looks stupid, it's an unnecessary cost, and it's inefficient. The more efficient roof solution is a low slope or flat style roof. That's because rafters are more efficient than complicated trusses. It also simplifies your elevation or your exterior look as well. Not only does it give you a nice, clean, simple design, it also makes it cheaper to build. Finally, I'll tell you about the biggest savings I achieved by working backwards to cut costs. I'll explain that in a bit, but just recently I finished another round of buying items at auction. There are these construction auctions, or builders auctions, or contractor auctions, all across North America. Here in the Ottawa area, we have Brian's auctions that run in Trenton, which is about an hour and a half or so away from Ottawa. They also run a second one 6 hours away near Toronto, but I don't use that one often. I'll explain why a little later. These auctions tend to have gently used tools from projects that have ended, or overstock builders items like kitchens or bathroom fixtures, or they may have scratch and dent items as well. This is a way to save huge amounts of money on very high quality products. I got a $20,000 kitchen for about $7,000. And I even got a $6,000 quartz tub for just $600. You can save huge amounts of money this way, but it does require a bit of design thinking and planning. This is where working backwards comes into play. Instead of designing your house and then buying items for the house, you buy the items and then design the house to fit the items. So you buy the windows, then design the house to fit those windows. You buy your kitchen, and then design the space to fit that kitchen. It's a clever way to get really high quality items at a low price point, and then fit them into your design like they were meant to be that way right from the beginning. There are big risks doing this though, and I want you to be aware of them. First, financially, it's a burden. You have to spend tens of thousands of dollars buying all of this material before the house is even built. In fact, before the house is designed even. That's a huge risk, and if anything goes wrong or you change your mind in the design process, you're stuck with what you bought. You also have to pay to store the items if you're not already paying for storage, so make sure you factor that into the cost. You also have to go pick up the items yourself, moving 100 boxes of flooring multiple times or dealing with 800-pound objects. Make sure you're physically capable or have people who are able to help you. And finally, there's the distance to think about. I mentioned that one of the auctions was outside of Toronto, about 6 hours away. I did that once. Yes, I saved $12,000 that day, but let me tell you, driving 12 hours in a crappy truck to lift heavy objects and move them in the rain really sucked. Be prepared to do a lot of work if you want to save money. The idea of working backwards is probably my favorite tip. It really lets you hone in on what you actually need. So instead of designing your bathroom and then figuring out which fixtures fit that space, start with your fixtures, figure out what you want your bathroom to be, then size the room to that size. It's a clever way to keep those costs under control because every square foot counts. It's expensive. Adding just a few square feet will increase your project by way more than you think because it means more siding, more drywall, more floor, more roof, potentially an upsized HVAC system. There are a lot of considerations when you're adding that extra square footage. So being as precise as you can get and lowering that size is really going to make a big difference in your overall cost. My final tip is this. Don't be afraid to do things yourself. Putting up drywall is not that hard. Installing a toilet is not that hard. The more you're willing to do things yourself, the more you're going to save money. And on that note, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. In about 1 month, I'm going to be on site actually showing you how to build the interior of a house step by step. If there's a specific topic you want me to cover or go more detail in, let me know in the comments. I love hearing from my viewers and I love building community. All right, that's it for now. I'll see you soon.